Welcome to the Rugby League Outsiders Set of 6, our weekly news show where we share the good, the great and the noteworthy of Rugby League outside the heartlands. My name's Craig.
And my name's Karl, and on this week's show we'll be discussing the teams that are going to be entered into the 2025 Challenge Cup. We're going to take a look at the Pacific Championship, and we've also got the special Williams Weekly where we're going to discuss the Golden Boot nominations.
Right, welcome back. The news keeps flowing in the world of Rugby League. Really exciting weekend. Stacks of international Rugby League and a few other bits of domestic stuff as well. First of all, stay with us today because we've got the sniper coming back to give his tips. His tips are absolutely on fire this weekend, so we'll be talking to him. So before we...
I've got a bit of a confession to make, though, before we start. I just feel like I need to get off my chest.
What's that?
I watched a little bit of Rugby Union this weekend.
I feel sick. Explain yourself,
We'll
Karl.
get into it later on, mate. We'll get into it later on.
Okay, so we'll also be talking about why Karl was watching chuffing Rugby Union this weekend. So anyway, we're going to kick off for the Challenge Cup. It's going to come up really quickly. I know we've got Christmas in between, all right, but we know what it's like. You know, it seems like it's like drags on. Then all of a sudden it's here and there's loads of games all at once. So different format to the Challenge Cup this year.
Yeah, because the Championship teams are coming in. Championship and League One teams are coming in on round 2, so the date has been announced for the Challenge Cup draw, and I'm really excited because we've got a bit of a vested interest in it this year. The draw is going to be taking place on the 2nd of December at Gould Vikings, the newest club into professional rugby league. So they've been given the task of hosting the draw. Hopefully, it goes better than last year's draw did, where. What did they do? They got some of the teams mixed up, didn't they, last year? Anyway, yeah, hopefully it goes better than it did last year. So I just thought I'd go through the sides that are actually in the Challenge Cup draw this year and which leagues they've come from, really. So taking a look then, first team, Maryport from Cumberland Amateur Rugby League, and we got GB Police in there. From Ireland, we've got the Longhorns. From Midlands Rugby League, we've got our club, Telford Raiders, Harry Jepson winners. From the National Conference League, you've got Crossfields, Dewsbury Moor, Hunslet ARL FC, Ince Rose Bridge, Lee Miners, Lock Lane, Ulton Raiders, Rochdale Mayfield, Siddle, Thatto Heath, Waterhead Warriors, Wathbrow Hornets, West Bowling, West Hull and York Acorn. From the North West Men's League, we've got Blackbrook, Haresfinch, Oral St James. And from the Pennine League, you've got Mirfield. From Scotland Rugby League, you've got Edinburgh Eagles. From the SCL, you've got Eastern Rhinos, Hammersmith Hills Hoists, London Chargers, West Warriors. From the Welsh League, Aberavon Fighting Irish, and the Yorkshire Men's League, you've got Doncaster Tobar and Stanley Rangers. So some awesome teams in that. It's going to be really exciting first round of the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, and I had a little flashback. I mean, there's a number of teams that I'd like Telford Raiders to get.
Right.
For a couple of selfish reasons. First of all, Mirfield, because we can do the Trans-Pennine Ale Trail, right? So we can go and watch Raiders play Mirfield, and then we could have an amazing piss up there. Or we could perhaps experience the bright lights of London. You know, pick up one of the London teams, and the Midlands and the Raiders can sort of descend and do a raid on London.
We've been keeping an eye on the SCL all year, haven't we? So you got Eastern Rhinos, Hammersmith, the Chargers and West Warriors. So we know how well Hammersmith and London and West Warriors did the last 2 years in the Challenge Cup. So really exciting to see how they get on as well.
I think the one that would really excite me though is if Telford Raiders got Siddle.
Siddle?
Yeah, because I mean that's our...
That'd be a tough day at the office, mate. That
God, would it? But you know, it'd be like it's our old stomping ground. You know what I mean? And just to take the Midland lads up there.
I quite fancy a business trip to Ireland, though, to be honest with you.
Well, this is it. There's just so many... You know, we talk about like, there's a heartlands of rugby league. You know, but there are clubs here from all over the place, from Edinburgh Eagles all the way to London, to Ireland, all over the place.
It's good that we have a Midlands representative in the Challenge Cup. It's been years since we've had a Midlands side. I think possibly Sherwood were the last side to enter the Challenge Cup. And the Midlands has been overlooked a little bit, which is not right. So yeah, it is good luck we have a Midlands side. And obviously we're focusing on the Midlands because, this is where we're based. But yeah, there's loads of other sides from outside the heartlands. Like you said, Edinburgh Eagles that we spoke to this year, they've had another great season. Many of those players now have got Scottish representative honours as well, so that's great to see. It's exciting. So they're making the draws for both round 1 and round 2 on the same day, on the 2nd of December. So not only are you going to find out who you're playing, you're going to know who you're playing in the next round. There could be a massive carrot being dangled for making it through to round 2. It's exciting.
Yeah, really exciting. If you're involved in a club that's in the Challenge Cup this year, or you support a club that's involved, what fixtures would you like to see? Stick them in the comments below. If there's anything there that just would be mouth-watering, some local rivalry, for whatever reason, just let us know what you'd like to see and why. And make sure you tune in 2nd of December from Gould Vikings, where we get the full draw for rounds 1 and 2. All right, so from that in Gould to the Southern Hemisphere, South Africa, Karl.
Well, not necessarily South Africa. I mean, if it is in South Africa, it's yeah. So
yeah, but we love starting a good rumour, don't we?
Yeah. So the nominees for the 2030 Rugby League World Cup have sort of been whittled down from 11 to 5. So the sort of 5 that are in the running. Well, it's technically 6, but so the World Cup in 2030 is either going to happen in Kenya, South Africa, USA, the Pacific nations as a bulk, or Papua New Guinea and New Zealand. So first of all, it's a great list, and it's very expansive, and it's not what I expected. What are your thoughts on the final 5?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because there's been a lot said in the news this week about staying true to your core nucleus of fans, right, in the heartlands. When we talk about the heartlands, like in the UK, obviously we talk about north of England.
We talk about the M62.
Yeah. However, there's Australia, there's the Pacific Islands, New Zealand. They're like the core locations, aren't they, really? Yes, they used to play rugby league in South Africa, and there's a smidgen of rugby league in Kenya, USA. It's getting more and more popular. But is it, it's like, okay, where are we going to draw the most fans from? Now, I kind of personally think that not only would South Africa be an amazing location to just go and visit and spend time, there's enough, like is it like halfway between Australasia and the UK?
Well,
you know what I mean?
It's probably somewhere around there.
It's got to be, like, certainly as easy to get to South Africa for both sides of the world. So I don't know. I'd be really excited to have it in South Africa.
Would you?
Yeah.
I have a massive worry though that we'll host it in South Africa. Yeah, but it'd be great if you can afford to get yourself there and go and experience it. But I just have this worry that we're going to see half-empty stadiums with no atmosphere, and it just doesn't come across well on TV, and then that has a real damaging effect on the international game.
So what you're saying then is if you have it in a location like South Africa, Kenya, USA, there's not the home...
No.
Like you know what I mean? That you can't rely on the home supporters to be coming.
No, I mean, and we struggled with the World Cup when we had it in the UK last, didn't we? I mean, overall it was pretty good, but there was still a lot of empty stadiums. When you had teams like Cook Islands playing Samoa or something like that, you didn't quite have the drawing from the UK fans. And I just think if you have it in one of those countries, I just don't think you'll get the attendances. It won't come across well on TV. It's not going to attract big sponsors. So, yeah, as much as I would love it to be in one of those countries, I think more development of the game needs to happen, certainly in Kenya, South Africa and USA. I mean, you would hope that they're all going in the right direction. Certainly USA is going to continue to build its profile with Vegas happening. For me, there's a standout one on there.
Yeah.
Surely you know who it is. I just think it should be in the Pacific Nations. with all the momentum that's been behind the Pacific Championship that we've just watched. I know it sort of took place in Australia, didn't it? A lot of it, but Tonga and Samoa, they're building so well. I think their fans will flock there to watch it. Plus, we'll get the Aussies, the Kiwis going over. I just think that's where we should be hosting it. I think it's adventurous enough, but there's still that core of fans there.
That's a tough one, because straight away I'm thinking, well, I think that would, like, a lot of British fans wouldn't be able to get across there, and if we're ever going to win a World Cup, we need some strong support. So I don't know.
So what are you thinking? Papua New Guinea and New Zealand?
No, I'd like it to be in South Africa.
Would you?
Yeah, 100%. I'd love it to be in South Africa. No, I really would. I get what you're saying. You kind of you're relying on all fans to travel.
Yeah. Instead
of having like a core home ground. But I mean, even that doesn't really mean a great deal from what you were saying, like Cook Island and that struggling for fans, spectators, if you like, when he was in the UK. So it's a tough one, but I mean, I would love to see it.
It won't be at South Africa.
Why?
I just can't see it. I mean, we didn't even get a World Cup on in France. Well, we'll blame French government for that one, but I can't see it being in South Africa.
But we're talking 6 years. Like 6 years, we could be looking at this going, you know what? We could build this and build this and build this.
I have got increased optimism on international rugby league now, because it kind of feels like the NRL is starting to run it. I think they've thrown a lot of money behind the Pacific Championship, and if you look at year one of that compared to year two, it's only gone up, hasn't it? The crowds have got bigger, stadiums are full, competition's been awesome. So yeah, I'm starting to get more optimism back for rugby league. But then I look at what we've just done in the UK, and we're going to be playing less England games next year than this year, and that just grieves me. Mind you, we have got the Ashes coming up. Look, it's open for debate at this moment in time, but I don't think it'll be in South Africa.
All right, okay. So where do you think it's going to be? Have you got a preference of the country, and for what reason do you think that? Right, tackle through them. If you want the brightest rugby league, perhaps you should go and look at the brightest young minds in the country. So now we're going to go over to University Rugby League.
Yeah, I just thought I'd look at a couple of the results. I mean, we've got the Northern Tier, the Southern Tier, but I thought I'd focus just on the National Tier this year, which is the first year it's happened. Just have a look at a couple of the results. So up on your screen now, the results from last weekend. So Leeds 30, Exeter 38. And then you got Leeds Beckett came out 44-0 against Loughborough, and the Northumbria Newcastle game was postponed, so that's still to play. University Rugby League's very much in full flow at the minute, and we're looking at covering it more in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so I mean the Leeds Beckett score. I mean, am I right in thinking they played a couple of weeks ago and it was a very different tale?
No, that was Loughborough versus Leeds. There's two Leeds sides in the National League. There's Leeds Union, Leeds Beckett. I think that was a lot closer. Leeds Beckett, Loughborough is a repeat of last year's semi-final, which we went to, which was a lot closer. So I think Loughborough got a bit of catching up to do. Very much a new side this year. They've got a lot of new players in that. Just basically the movement of students. So I think Loughborough are really sort of rebuilding at the minute. I think they had quite a few injuries as well. So we'll keep an eye on it, and as the results start to come in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to speak to Tom Mitchell, who's part of the Loughborough side. He's going to give us a full roundup of the University League next week.
Okay, tackle 4. There's nothing more mouth-watering than a former rugby league player absolutely tearing it up in rugby union. So here to talk about that and a lot more is the Sniper from the Sniper Club.
Yeah, and this is a bit where I have to confess that I watched some rugby union this weekend, and this is the reason why. So Ali Leahy's debut for the Wallabies was absolutely mouth-watering. It was incredible. He had such a good game. Sniper, we'll dive straight into you. What did you think of his debut this weekend?
Is that why you guys are called Rugby League outsiders? Because you've ditched the Rugby League for the Rugby Union? That's just embarrassing. How on earth? I mean, where do your priorities actually lie? Which codes? I mean, it's scandalous.
It gets worse than that. He's actually sat here with sliders on as well, believe it or not.
We did actually say for one April Fool's Day that we was going to just report on rugby union for an hour and see if we got called out. Anyway, yeah, it was a one-off, mate. It was a one-off.
Okay, so Joseph Sualihi, the Rugby League Judas that's joined rugby union, had his first game for the Wallabies. He had showed flashes of brilliance. He was really good. He's played a playmaking role more or less and was tapping the ball on at will. But England should have been away and gone, shouldn't they? I mean, it's scandalous. They weren't far ahead at half-time. And they left the door open for the Aussies. And then from the 65th minute onwards, the wheels fell off completely. And everyone was singing Sualihi's praises like he was, the second coming of the Messiah. So
he had a good game, I thought. I thought he had a good game, but it wasn't something that we wouldn't see week in, week out in the NRL or Super League. I thought he played well, but it was nothing extraordinary like he's been hailed for.
Yeah, so I think what they're trying to do here is put him up as a poster boy, right, for the union. And there are many different reasons that they want to do that. When he was playing at the Roosters, he was moved to centre over the last season and a half. And he wasn't doing very well there. He was getting found out. He was getting, isolated in defence. But he was a really, really good winger. So they've obviously brought him in. We thought England would be targeting him, particularly in defence. He was quite solid in rugby union. It didn't look like he'd only played rugby union in high school.
No.
So he did have a good game. But we've seen him go missing in the NRL plenty of times, especially at centre. So with all the fanfare, with all the hype, with all the Rugby Australia stuff behind him, he's gone out and had an absolute blinder, which is great. But can he perform week in, week out? That's the question. It remains to be seen.
Yeah.
What did you make of the game as a whole?
Do you know what? I'm going to get some more stick here, but I actually thought it was a pretty decent game. It was pretty free-flowing. It's what we used to expect from Wallabies playing union. They always used to have a more free-flowing game than what we sort of see over here, and I thought they'd brought that back. I thought, there was pretty quick in attack, and it wasn't bad actually. But yeah, like I say, it was only something we'd see in the NRL week in, week out. But I did think He did have a good game. I thought he's really good with his hands. He put some really quick ball out, and he was great going up for the kickoffs as well. I think tipping it back. He seemed to be a level above everybody else. Very athletic player.
Yeah, I don't know if I was watching with rose-tinted glasses a little bit, because I just sort of saw every time I went into contact, he was looking to promote the ball and pass the ball, and England was struggling to wrap the ball up, which you'd see, like Karl said, week in, week out at most levels of rugby league. So, that kind of stood out to me. And I did feel that he was almost passing at twice the speed as anyone else, in a weird way. But like I said, I don't know if I was just willing him to do well because he's a former league player, So, that was my take on it. Really exciting finish. They just went nuts, didn't they, at the end?
Yeah.
I think they had a really good plan for him. So he was a focal point of the attack. He didn't look like he'd just been recently integrated. And they used him to make a point of difference in attack for sure. And you rarely see that on a debut. So it was impressive. But there's a sort of darker story at large within Rugby Australia, and what's been happening with Sualihi.
Go on, dive into it. You've got.
We're all ears.
We're all ears, yeah, definitely.
Right. Okay, so basically, Rugby Australia went to the Roosters and they said, we want to loan him back to the Roosters in 2026. Is that possible?
Oh, right.
That's absolutely scandalous.
Yeah.
Right. So they're heading into a World Cup. They've got the what is it? What's it called? The Lions and Irish Lions.
Yeah.
British
What's that thing called?
Yeah, British and Irish Lions. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's happening as well. And it shows what bad shape Rugby Australia are actually in. So how can you go with your prize asset, who is supposed to be the second coming of the Messiah, and say, guys, do you want to loan him back? Because we can't afford to pay you. What's his management thinking?
Yeah.
What's his agent thinking? What have they got themselves into?
Yeah.
So that's really bad.
Him as a player, what's he thinking? And what are the players around him think it. There's a whole load of like different levels to this. I think you're right.
Absolutely, it's dark. I mean, everyone's fighting against the major superpower in world sport, which is the Premier League. So all the sports like ours that are fairly niche these days are on their knees, including rugby union, because the investors, the hedge funds, the private equity firms are trying to buy these big clubs and make them trophies.
Yeah.
So Rugby Australia's $89 million in debt. They've got a drawdown facility, which is a loan facility from a private equity firm. That means it's like an overdraft. They've given them an $80 million overdraft, and they've already taken $50 million of their overdraft.
Wow.
So they're massively in debt, and they're borrowing for the future. So they've literally put their bollocks on the line, sorry to swear.
No, that's all right.
And said, we're going to take a major punt on Sualihi. His salary is around $2 million a year. So they're basically punting 8% of their debt on one player, Sualihi.
Wow.
Which is unheard of. That's massive, massive risk. And that shouldn't be allowed. If you look at, German football clubs, for example, they're owned by the supporters. All the prize assets in the UK have been sold off to, Russian oligarchs or Saudis or whoever. Now, Rugby Australia is starting to sell it off as well. They've got vultures circling overhead in private equity firms that, want to take them down to earn a buck off these complicated drawdown facilities and loans and bonds and restructuring this and that. Shouldn't be allowed. How can the state of the game get us to where we are today?
Well, I mean, what's the 5-year prediction for that? I mean, it's just I can't see the sport ever recovering from that amount of debt.
All right, so let's say they have a decent World Cup and a decent tour. They're projecting to make, I think, somewhere in the region of $200 million.
Right.
By the time that actually starts, they'd have probably got a second loan facility and spent that forward as well.
Yeah.
So the interest rate on that loan alone is 10.62%. So you're going to be paying $5 to $6 million just to service the interest without actually paying back what you owe. And that's how these big finance firms and private equity firms snare you.
Yeah.
Because you can never get out of it. That's exactly what you guys are saying.
Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle of doom. And then what? We'll just pump more money in.
Does this mean that there's a chance that, if they become under financial dire, well, you could argue they're in financial dire straits now, but could we see an exodus of Rugby Australia players come into the Super League, the NRL?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. We've already started to see that. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the NRLW, there's so many of the female rugby union players have come over and done really well. You've got players like Tyler King, who played in the women's final yesterday for New Zealand. You've got a superstar winger called Stacey Wacker. She's unbelievable. She played in the Olympics in the nines competition. You may remember her. So it's happening. But there's still a stigma in the union where the rugby league players that join are frowned upon and they're sort of marginalised, like pariahs. They're turning their nose up at the league. Things are starting to turn, and I hope that, we don't sell ourselves to the devil. You don't have a franchise for Hunslet or a franchise for Keith Lee or anyone. You've got to protect our clubs. You can't be selling them off to these firms that want to make a quick buck, put men in suits in control, not people that understand the sport or have a passion to grow the game. So, yeah, it's a sorry state of affairs, highlighted by the mess that Rugby Australia itself is in.
So, I mean, this is a story, obviously, we'll kind of track as the weeks and months go on and perhaps even years go on. So what's the next, data point? What's the next target or whatever where we'll kind of get an indication of where that sport is now?
I think it's going to be an ongoing media circus. So a lot of this information was actually leaked. It wasn't made publicly available. And that's to protect the terms of the arrangement that they made.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at people that are crossing over, you've got a chap called Carter Gordon who's gone to the Titans. He played for Australia, really good player. He's probably going to be halfback for the Titans next year. You've got Mark N, who plays for the Roosters. He's probably going to be the winger now.
Yeah, can you pronounce his surname?
Sorry, Tom Young will be on the right.
Can you pronounce his surname?
I'll leave that to you guys.
Yeah, we did a piece on him about 3 weeks ago, and yeah, we got it wrong, big time.
Yeah, it's. I think it's doable. Olukuwatu's easy enough though, but you know, we'll get used to that one over the course of the season. So you are seeing players switch over, knowing that they're going to get paid by the NRL, whereas things are slightly in doubt for Union. And I think that exodus is going to continue in the men's game and the female game for, the foreseeable future. So everyone should really be piling in together to make sure that the sport grows in the right way and people aren't just trying to make a quick buck out of it. So that everyone's playing catch up against Premier League football or Spanish La Liga football or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Well,
that's probably a summary of what's happened there.
An incredible story. And like you say, it's we don't like to ride on the back of the demise of our what would we call it? Like opposing sport or whatever. However it is, there are sort of implications for Rugby League. So we'll look forward to hearing more about that. We're going to move on to Tackle 5 now, and a really exciting final, Karl.
Yeah, and the reason the Sniper's been invited back on the show is because I'm 18 quid up from last week.
Oh, you went for the banker, not the flyer.
Yeah, I went for the banker. You give us a tip last week, Tom Trbojevic, anytime try scorer. He scored well. He could have scored 4, couldn't he? What a final he had, and Sniper, what did you think of the Pacific final this weekend?
I thought it was good. I thought the Tongans stole the show. The Tongans, the Tongan crowd, the hymns, the colour.
Yeah. Hymns are incredible.
It really does. It just makes your spine tingle. And it makes us want more and more international rugby league.
Yeah, 100%.
So that was beautiful to watch. In terms of the game itself, it was probably less beautiful. It started off the way we thought it would. Tonga were in control. They had a really, really impressive start where their forwards were dominating. Fanua Blake and Taumalolo did really well through the centre, laid a platform. Katoa scored an early try, a really good finish in the right-hand corner.
Incredible finish.
And then, beautiful. And then when Fanua Blake and Taumalolo came off the pitch, the Kangaroos started to take control. So they were going left a lot more than we thought. So Tom Dearden was obviously under orders to pass way more than he normally does. Did you see them targeting the left edge?
Yeah, I remember you saying last week he's a bit of a ball hog, but I watched him. I thought he had an incredible game.
I couldn't take my eyes off him. I thought it was incredible.
100% under orders. He may look like the Milky Bar kid, but he had a great game.
I like anyone. Like being afflicted with no eyebrows myself. I like anyone that ain't got any eyebrows.
Yeah.
Just talking about,
he was great.
Talking about Dearden, do you think he's going to be in contention for Origin next year?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's definitely going to. I think he's going to be the starting 5'8", 100%.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I can't see anyone else other than him playing. Yeah. So, but I mean, we're not massive fans in our group of Dearden because we've seen him hog the ball so much. Yeah. He's not at the Cam Munster levels yet. You'd hope that he could be at some point in the future, but when you're that selfish, it stunts your creativity and it can really blunt the players on outside you. So had he been releasing the ball more, the Cowboys could have made it much further into finals. You'd have seen Murray Tuilagi score a lot more tries. He barely got any ball. He's a great finisher. Val Holmes, again, didn't get as much ball as he normally does. So, yeah, I think he's going to be sort to work on that. And it was impressive to see Mal Meninga tell him, pass. Let's open that left side up. So we saw Coates score on the left wing. We saw the Hammer score at left centre. Dearden didn't really try and go himself for a change. And then the rest of it was really the sort of Tommy Turbo show, which was, great to watch. What did you guys make of him?
I thought it was ace, and the Pacific Championship as a whole felt like it went up another level from last year. I mean, I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch it, and I wouldn't have done that if I wasn't super excited about it. So yeah, I got up early to watch it, and it didn't disappoint. I thought it was a really good game, and I think, like you said at the start of the call, it just whets the appetite for more international rugby league. And we've just got to hope the governing bodies are going to get their heads together and get some proper structure to international rugby, because it is the way forward. no matter how big the NRL is, no matter how big Super League is, we have to have more of these internationals, and I think the Pacific Championship next year it'll be awesome, and we're going to have the Ashes on top as well to go with it. So yeah, next year for international rugby league feels like it's going to be a really big year, I think.
Well, my take on Turbo is I'd like just to sort of have one camera, like Turbo Cam, right? Because his sense of positioning, his injection of pace when there's a half break, a break, like someone offloads the ball or whatever, it's just lightning. He just seems to be in the right place, moving quicker than everybody else, at the right time, and obviously that leads to great tries.
Well, he played the centre role slightly different, didn't he? Because he did drift in field quite often looking for the ball. The commentary team sort of said he was, although he was in the centre position, because he plays full back as well, he kind of created a new role for himself where he was drifting in field. Look, it worked. I thought he's such a good player, so exciting to watch, and kind of felt like he was a level above everybody else on that field, I thought, the weekend.
Absolutely. So he does play that roaming role in Origin, and he does it very, very well. But he's been injured the last few years. So he's just literally recovered from the damage that was done to his body in the finals. And he's come back looking better than ever. That roaming centre role is so difficult to mark. And he can pretty much do what he likes.
Yeah.
So it was very, very impressive. I thought Dylan Edwards was a little bit of a letdown. He's been playing pretty much broken for the last 2 or 3 months of the season. Dane Laurie had come in as fullback for the Panthers towards the end of the season. He was plugging holes, and I think they patched Dylan Edwards up. So if you don't watch Australian rugby league very often, either internationals or NRL, you haven't seen the best of Dylan Edwards. He is an absolute freak. So keep your eyes on him as well.
Yeah.
And he's so great to watch. So, yeah. Long may the internationals continue, guys. One quick thing, by the way, which I should have probably mentioned at the start. If you are looking at the bankers and the flyers, guys, we generally suggest if you're going to spend £10, probably have 70 or 80% on the banker and the remainder on the flyer, just so that you get your staking right.
Oh, right, okay.
Because people like to bet quite differently. Yeah, so the banker's, the main one. And then if we hit something for a fiver or something with a smaller stake, so be it. Well, we'll talk about that more, I guess, next season, guys.
Yeah, you weren't far off.
Pretty much done for now.
You wasn't far off with your flyer. I think, was it 2 points off landing that one as well?
Yeah, super close. We were looking good at half-time. Eli Katoa scored a late try. And I think ideally we'd have had one of the Australian kicks miss. But super close. Not bad value. We do tend to take try scorers more than anything else. So no doubt next season we'll hit a hat-trick or 3 so that we make sure that the kitty keeps going and so that everyone's, having fun and gambling responsibly.
It's obviously, a great opportunity to talk about moving forward. So this, having the sniper involved in the show, we believe it brings a lot of depth. We love speaking to him, and he just talks on a different level to most fans of the sport because of just how he digs into the information and processes it all. And obviously, when we come back to do our prediction videos next year, we're going to have this section where the sniper will give you a banker, the flyer, like he said already, and it was incredibly close. Now, actually, I'm not much of a gambler, but it made for a really, really exciting match because all of a sudden you literally had a bit of skin in the game.
More invested.
Yeah, and you couldn't take that out of the ball. Now, those bankers and flyers, they're just the tip of the iceberg, really, of the kind of information, the tips that he provides. So you can join the Sniper Club, and we'll post links to that later on. But if you're a member of our show, we're gonna obviously we record this show ahead of time. We're gonna release those 2 tips, the banker and the flyer, into the members area ahead of publishing it on YouTube. So if you want like first dibs on those tips alone, then join our membership. But if you want a lot more, and I'll give you an opportunity in a minute, Snipes, to to explain how it kind of works and what you do, then just consider joining the Sniper Club as well.
Yeah, that's great. So guys, I think the important thing is the odds aren't released on a Monday, so we've only got indications. So when we recorded last Monday, I said guys, the odds will probably be around even money or so for Tommy Turbo.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, the next day he opened up at even money, which is great. So the odds will probably be around 3-1 on Hodgson Young. He opened up at 3-1. So you start to get a sixth sense for that sort of thing. So when we are looking ahead, the team news for Australia comes out on a Tuesday. So everything drops then. So we'll have some selections for the listeners, but we'll have to put out tissue prices or indication prices for them.
Yeah.
So that'll be something to look out for over the course of next season.
Yep, perfect.
Right, tackle 6 and on to the Williams Weekly. And this week, I just wanted to float the question, well, two questions really. The nominations for the International Rugby League Golden Boot has been announced, right, of which there's a big, long list of potential players. 3 English players in there, in Herbie Farnworth, George Williams and Harry Smith. My 2 questions are, that obviously I'll post to Karl, but I want to post to you guys as well to get your take on this, is 1, does any English player, have a chance of winning this? And number 2, if so, who and why? So, Karl, what's your take on this?
Yeah, 100% an English player. I can't even believe you're asking that question. Herbie Farnworth's one of the best centres in the world at the minute, so I'm putting him straight up there. The funny thing with the Golden Boot Award, it's an odd one because it's based on international rugby league matches only. They don't take into consideration club rugby. So it's an odd one. It's like you're picking the best player in the world based on 3 games. In England's case, you could say it's only really been 2 games. If you discredit the international in the middle of the season, because that didn't stand for anything, did it? So picking the best player on 2 games a season is madness in my opinion.
But they've got to get themselves to that level, haven't they? You know what I mean? They've got to get themselves onto the highest stage, in the first place. So perhaps that itself is a little filtering process.
Yeah,
so,
it's true, but
you can have a bad game
when you look at football, and they talk about Messi and Ronaldo. They don't just look at their international form, do they, for the Ballon d'Or? They look at how they've played for the full season, really, and decide who the best player in the world is. Cleary isn't in this list, but he's clearly one of the best players in the world. He's had an awesome season for Penrith, but yet because he didn't play international, he's not in this list to be considered as one of the best players in the world. It's mad. It's just not. It don't work.
Well, Cleary is clearly nearly.
Well, I nearly got a tongue twister in there myself. But yeah, looking at the England players, yeah, I think they all deserve to be there. I think George Williams and Harry Smith just played so well together in the series, and we joke about it, but I'm sort of looking at that England team and going, we can take these Aussies on next year in this Ashes series. If those 2 play like that, I can't see why not. And I know we keep holding the NRL on a pedestal, which pisses me off, to be honest with you. Well, I think the English lads have played great this year, and I think they've got every chance of winning it. I do actually think Herbie Farnworth might win it.
So that answers question 1. Can an English player win it? Question 2 then, who and why? So you've said Herbie Farnworth. What are your reasons why there? And don't just say because he had a great game.
Well, he did, didn't he? I mean, it was the best player on the pitch in both international games. He's quick. Agility, he's got speed to burn. His defence is tight. He just always he was in the right place at the right time a lot of the time. I don't know who do you think should be on that list? I know not only that, there's players on that list who I don't think should be on that list.
Well, I mean, we'll go through the list in a minute. Well, let's go through the list now. So there's a couple of players there. We don't have to lead them all out, but there's a couple of British-based players. Nenny McDonald's on there. Lachlan Lamb is on there.
He had a great series for Papua New Guinea, as did all the English, well, not English lads, but the English-based players for Papua New Guinea were awesome.
Yeah. A couple of players on there like Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. I don't think he had a particularly good game.
I thought he had a poor series by his standards. I thought Jerome Luai had a poor series by his standards. But again, this is where you get to. they're probably in that list because of their club form, not how they performed at international level. I don't think Jerome Luai had a good series by his own standards at all.
Right. So, I mean,
Jason Tamalolo was awesome.
Yeah, of course it was. Yeah,
absolutely awesome. He caused so many problems for the Aussies this weekend.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm in agreement with you. I think Herbie. If any English players got in with the chance, it's Herbie Farnworth, because as soon as you got the ball, you're on the edge of the seats, right? And that's what a golden boot like winner should be for me. You know, you look at some of the players of the past. The English players in the past. 1988, Ellery Hanley. Then there was a little sprint with Gary Schofield. Gary Schofield won it in 1990 and 1992. Andrew Farrell won it in 2004. And Kevin Sinfield, 2012. I know that's a winner you take.
No,
umbrance
look,
with.
I've got nothing wrong with Kevin Sinfield at all. I think the guy's a great guy, but I still haven't got over that semi-final when we lost to New Zealand and Sean Johnson stepped round him after he shot out the line, and I still find it difficult to forgive him for that.
Well, I mean, you see. You're talking about Herbie Farnworth, right? In with the chance, I think we both agree that if an England player is going to win it,
I think it's between two people.
Yeah, Tom Trbojevic.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Farnworth, both centres, both slight different playing styles, if you like, but so those two players are kind of up against each other. And I don't know if Herbie beats Turbo at the minute.
No, I'll be honest. I think maybe Trbojevic just pips him to it as the player of the international calendar.
Yeah. Okay, so a little bit of a discussion there about the Golden Boot nominees. Obviously, time will tell who's going to be the overall winner. Who's your take? Who's your winner, in your opinion? And also, what do you think about some of these other players that perhaps didn't have a very strong series? Are they just like, what do they call it? Like, they're just like making up the numbers or whatever? Or did we miss something? Have they had an amazing series and we've just kind of missed it or underestimated it or whatever? So let us know. Karl, any final afterburners?
Yeah, we've got our Patreon members to announce. So we're running a Patreon now for anybody who wants to sort of help support this channel. And our first two followers are Simon Groves and Josh. We'll be sticking some posts out for you guys in the next couple of weeks, and you'll have a bit of a... What should we do? Should we give him a question for the show or ask the host or something like that?
Yeah, it's very much in the development, but we want to involve and recognise the support that you guys give us. So yeah, we'll come up with something where we'll tell you what guests coming on and you can pose a question. We're also going to throw our tips, our little tips in there early, and we want to do first of all like a bit of a behind the scenes tour of how this show is produced, like what happens, what's the sequence of events, because we never really shared that. So thank you to those members, and if anyone else is on there and they enjoy the show, you get value from it, please consider subscribing. It's completely free, and if you want to put your hand in your pocket, then consider joining our membership group as well. So until next week, Karl.
Yep, see you next week.